year due to the pandemic. And, this is something that was, pretty neat. This was prior to our girls' basketball game in the playoffs. And just the energy and the excitement. And, this is, really what, school spirit and our culture is about here. I just wanted to share this with everyone that, this is something there's a lot of appreciation shared by the girls. And our students were very appreciative of having this experience. And, moving forward, I'll talk about, our opportunities in the spring here. But, our seniors were very excited to have this opportunity. Moving on here to boys basketball. Our boys basketball team had a tremendous season. They were conference champions. This is the third time in the past 5 seasons. Okay, so a tremendous accomplishment. And just outlining the individual accomplishments, Drew Bibber was first team all-conference, all-state honorable mention. Logan Landers was first team all-conference, all-state honorable mention. Logan will continue his academic and athletic career at Kansas State. Matthew Pilch was second team all-conference. Girls basketball also had a great season. They finished second in conference, and they return all 5 starters for next season, so we're expecting big things there. Claire Diener was first team all-conference, all-state honorable mention. She broke the record for points in a game. She tied the school record for rebounds in a game this past season. Reagan Paul was second team all-conference, and Ella Rolison was honorable mention all-conference. Moving on to boys hockey, Everett King was second team all-conference. Ben Pagato was second team all-conference, and Drew Wachter was honorable mention all-conference. In wrestling, we had Bryce Jankowski. He was first team all-conference. He was a state. No change at $49 million plus. On the next page, there was another shift of dollars. There was a credit noted in the previous report that's now incorporated into our change order number 1. On the next page, another revision. There was some graphics modifications here at the high school that for a little over $2,000 that are now reported. And also in that section, a few, again, contract or budget adjustments associated with change order number 1. Getting to the last page then, the bottom line, you can see that on the previous report, we had, bear with me here a minute, get this a little closer. We had $61,552,268 in costs. We've gone up to $61,844,834. That's, as you move down the columns, you'll see that our construction contingency has dropped from 851 to 714. That's simply because of the change order number 1 that was written over the past 30 days. Again, it's a shift of dollars and not really a budget impact. So bottom line, contingency that you see available, construction contingency has gone to $711,791. So bottom line, remaining overall project contingency is $615,575. So about a $30,000 change, and that's largely due to that additional services cost from the architect that we talked about on page 1. So any questions?
Russ, just for an update.
Russ, go ahead, Kevin.
Just for an update, do you know roughly the amount of the remaining work to be done over the summer? Rough dollar amount?
In rough dollars, 200,000.
Okay.
So very small.
Yep, it's pretty small work left.
Correct.
Completed. So great. Thank you. Go ahead,
And
Chris.
that's already built into the,
Yes.
everything, so
Right.
we're still looking at the 600 number anyway?
Still leaves at 615,000.
Okay.
So just to be clear, of the $200,000 left in the project, we have $615,000 in contingency to help us through that.
Correct.
Well, is
And
that,
there's no other projects going on or anything else anticipated?
Not at that point. I think that's something that's going to be addressed at perhaps in future meetings.
so let me clarify then, because.
Okay, thank you, Russ.
Sorry, Chris, I thought you were done. So the 200,000 is in the budget, it doesn't come out of the contingency, right?
It does not, no. It's
Okay, just
included
wanted
in
to
the-
clarify that, yeah.
In the costs above,
Yeah,
correct,
that's what I thought.
correct. Okay.
Great.
All right,
Thanks, Russ.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Continuing with the superintendent notes, I just want to provide a quick update on our reentry plan. I look forward to the day when I don't have to provide an update on the reentry plan. I suspect that will be coming in the very near future. As always, when we present, we like to start with pictures of our kids. And this is one of our students who is, I believe, I don't have it up, but is one of our students. I don't have the school in front of me. But excited to see his smile and looking forward to seeing everyone's smiles in the near future. Just a couple things. It's my understanding that our live stream is not working. I think the camera is died on us, so we're trying to get the camera repaired. So those of you who are in the audience receiving text messages from your friends saying, we can't see anything, we can't hear anything, it's because our live stream is not working properly right now, and we're working on getting that addressed. And another item, the public comment mic is now on the main landing there. You can see it, there's a sign. Alan, if you can raise your hand just so people can see, it's right behind Alan. We moved the mic there so we can provide access, handicap access to those who need that. So that's where the mic will be for public comment. And Dave will indicate when it's time for the public comment. So as always, during the reentry plan, as I said, we start with a smiling picture of our students. We're excited to be able to continue to provide in-person instruction. We're thrilled that we have roughly, I want to say 90% of our students across the board in person. That number continues to increase as we get deeper into the fourth quarter. We have always been focused on access, quality, and safety. That has not wavered throughout this time, and I'm proud to say that we continue to focus on those particular areas. We use many different data sources in making our decisions, and these are just a few of those data sources in addition to just observations. So we observe how our students are behaving and staff and looking at what's happening in the district.
As per School Board Policy 167.3, each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes. Please note that this is a public meeting, and we ask everyone to address one another with the courtesy and respect you would like to receive in return. When you approach the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. As a reminder, this meeting is being live streamed via the district's YouTube channel and will be posted on the district's website. With that said, I want to introduce our timekeeper to enforce the 3-minute rule. It's Mr. Leach here on my left. And I think you had a statement about how this is going to work.
After the last meeting, someone said that when they're reading, they don't always see me lift the 1-minute sign. So I purchased this less than $2 app for the iPad here that will show you your 3 minutes and give you a little buzzer at the end. And hopefully that'll be more helpful to the people speaking to stay within your 3 minutes. Mr. Chairman, I also wanted to point out that when you read 167 as chair of the policy committee, as you read 167.3, there is one section that we don't list in there that I want to make sure everyone is aware of. F of that policy, and I passed it out to all the board members that are present, states participants shall address only topics within the legitimate jurisdiction of the board. I had heard that there may be some people wishing to speak today on behalf of their favorite candidate for office, and sorry to the current candidates that are sitting up here, but that is not a legitimate jurisdiction of the board. We have that's the voters, not us that decide that. So anyone that would speak about that, we would ask you not to, because that does not fit our board policy.
All right, thank you. Todd, can you clarify where people go? Because I think you mentioned Adam, but then...
Alan, if you could stand, oh, there we are. Elizabeth's standing. There's the mic right there. So that's where public comments will be made.
Thanks,
Oh, okay.
Elizabeth.
All right, thank you. So the first person on the list is Joan Baumgartner. Is Joan Baumgartner in the house? On the phone? Nope, okay. Next, we have Mike Hammond.
I'm glad the walk didn't count for the time. My name is Mike Hammond. We live at West 66, North 394, Kennedy Avenue. The reason I've come tonight is for two reasons. The first reason I've come tonight is to show my gratitude to the public schools of Cedarburg. My wife and I, we moved here 35 years ago, and the main reason we moved here was because we heard the schools were great, and they were. Our three kids graduated from here, and all three of them said when they went to college that Cedarburg did an amazing job preparing them for higher education. The second thing that we're really proud of is two of our grandkids go to Cedarburg schools. One goes to West Lawn, and one goes to the middle school. Both kids and their parents talk highly of the schools. It's amazing. Also, in the last 4 or 5 years, the dealings I've had with the Cedarburg schools was at Ozaki County with juveniles. All three of these exercises, whenever I contacted the schools, they were wonderful. They were helpful, and I can't say that for other districts when I worked at the Ozaki County Jail with juveniles. Cedarburg was top-notch when I talked to them about students that were from Cedarburg. Also, the second reason I want to talk about later on is also regarding a couple things I'm requesting to do. I was hired in November to work at Parkview as a COVID cleaner. And I said, hey, I'm very tired, sounds great. But the most important thing I've learned from doing this job is not smelling like chlorine, but the most important thing I've learned is how dedicated the staff is. From the principal, to the office personnel, to the teachers, to the aides, to the cooks, to the custodian, to the POT. I'm amazed. And every day when I'm there, when I walk up and down the hallways cleaning, and I look in those classrooms, folks, the education that these kids are getting is amazing. Truly amazing. And the time that they spend, the aides, the teachers, everyone, is amazing. I go in there and clean during their lunch, and they're working. So I just want to let you know that you are fortunate to have the education and the educators and the staff that you have here. Truly amazing. The two requests that I have is, number one, if you've never gone to the schools, please go and look at what they're doing. And the second thing, after I realized how hard the staffs work, I thought, well, what type of benefits do our teachers and our staff get with the outlying districts? And I'm telling you, I was shocked. I looked at 11 school districts. The teachers and the staff, average salaries, the lowest of the 11. When I looked at fringe benefits, lowest of the 11. And then the last category really shocked me, but when you think about it,
Thank you.
I'm done.
Thank you.
I want to
Thank
thank
you.
the staff, and I want to thank all the people that work in this district. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next person on the list is Patrick Kilkenny.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Patrick Kilkenny, W63N321 Hillcrest, Cedarburg, Hillcrest Avenue, Cedarburg. So first, I'll start warning the parents and students at West Lawn, parents of students at West Lawn. Do yourself a favor and dig deep into the massive book list that Principal Katie Ramos and other folks are advocating be added to classroom libraries. I've read 48 of these books. Some of these books are perfectly fine, but others divide people by race and push identity politics. A woman stood here at this podium last meeting and demanded that the school board adopt a policy that would hold district employees and students accountable for implicit racism. She advocated these people should be held accountable on and off school grounds. She advocated for firing staff and expelling students for violating this policy. Yeah, think about that. People are openly calling for the destruction of someone's career and that students be stripped of their educational opportunities because someone simply thinks that a person had an unconscious thought that was considered racist. This is the definition of tyrannical. Mr. Bugnacki, the moment I read the title of your statement in the most recent district newsletter, I knew it was time for my son to be removed from West Lawn. It's heartbreaking because the staff there is absolutely incredible. The answer is simple. There's an infinite number of ways essential that we fractionate the differences of all people all the way down to the level of the individual. If you do not do that, sorry. If you do,
Hold on a second. Please stop. Everyone, ma'am, you do not have the floor. You can talk when it's your turn. We will call you. Would you please leave?
But in other suburban school districts are not getting the education that they need and deserve to be able to succeed in a 21st century. He said it best in an interview earlier this week, that anti-racism is interjecting oneself and fighting for the eradication of racist policies and beliefs, while being not racist is essentially absolving oneself of all involvement and responsibility in eliminating racism. We all have a responsibility to not be just not racist. We have a responsibility to be anti-racist in our homes, in our schools, in our workplaces, in our social circles. It is hard work, but it is necessary work. He's also been one of the only board members to acknowledge that the community is eager to use their voice and have a seat at the decision-making table and to affirm that we should. Thank you. He echoes sentiments that are very clearly on display in this room tonight. That there's worry about a theoretical sacrifice, rigor, or academic excellence if we do this, if we incorporate policies for racial equity and curriculum that is not whitewashed and European-centric. Giving our students education with equity and inclusion and non-discrimination as a focus and academic excellence are not mutually exclusive. In fact, colleges, universities, and workplaces increasingly recognize and reward that preparedness in our students. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a board member who is working day in and day out for our students and for students to come. Again, I say thank you, Dr. Samuel Cox, for taking a stance when so few other of your colleagues will do the same.
Thank you. Just for future reference, as the timekeeper mentioned, it's against our policy to, how is that worded, Rick, 167?
The participant shall address only topics within the legitimate jurisdiction of the board.
That's the one. I guess if no one objects, because I'm obviously on the ballot opposite Mr. Cox, and I don't know that I would feel comfortable cutting someone off speaking about him. Would everyone be okay if I pass that duty to the timekeeper? Would the timekeeper be okay with that? I mean, if enforcing the rule. Yes. Well, I'm sorry, Justin, to the other board members.
I'm fine with that. I think that's a good idea, just to make sure people don't feel that you.
Right, I don't want to. I understand that. Is everyone good with that? Okay. Then we'll proceed to go. Mr. Timekeeper hasn't.
He doesn't want the responsibility. I didn't read the next name, but we'll take care.
All right, thanks. The next person on the list is Heidi Wheeler.
My name is Heidi Wheeler. I'm at N86W5, W4885 Covington Square East in Cedarburg. I'm a wife, mother of 4 children in the district, nurse, professor, and co-founder of Bridge the Divide, a nonpartisan community forum for conversation and action around racial justice. I grew up in a small Midwestern town, very similar to Cedarburg. I didn't learn much about the difficult parts of our history in the classroom, and I didn't have much interaction with people who were from diverse ethnic or racial backgrounds as a child. As an adult, I've had to confront my own stereotypes and biases, and it's been a long journey over many years, with lots of listening and reading to understand how systemic racism has led to generational wealth gaps, academic achievement gaps, healthcare disparities, and racial trauma. Many people in this community, including several and I wonder what definition of racism is being used. Is it the one used by people who state, I have a black friend, or I don't see skin color, or I don't tolerate the N-word, as evidence that they're not racist? Or is it the definition that recognizes that systemic policies, practices, and prejudices have resulted in different realities in this country depending on one's skin color? How is there such a disconnect between CSD leadership and probably many people in this room, self-perception around that definition, and the perception of other concerned citizens? How can we be so different? Nearly 6,000 people signed a petition last June asking leadership to become more robust in its anti-racism stance. Alumni have expressed their unreadiness for this conversation outside of our community. Dozens who shared their stories and concern in this forum and beyond these walls. When you hear examples, you can dismiss them as lies, you can diminish them as anomalies, or you can believe them and recognize that real change needs to happen. We need a better response than email communications from leadership assuring us they're not racist. We appreciate that some steps have been taken, but when are the promised community conversations going to be scheduled? Are there going to be people of color at the table? Is someone trained in facilitating these difficult conversations going to help navigate them? What staff training is currently being conducted? Are teachers into a century? Any time has been addressing the Wisconsin Association of State Boards self-reflection questions related to diversity and equity. Board members, push yourselves beyond binary thinking. Our concerns are not from a political stance, though sometimes I think your silence may be. Sometimes relational dynamics, especially between those who see things from different perspectives, are so deeply entrenched that we lack the imagination and determination to do things differently. I hope that we can partner with you and move forward on this issue.
Thank you. Thank you. Next on the list is Elizabeth Charlie.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Charland. I live at 1602 Skyline Drive, Cedarburg. We are being told that the Cedarburg School District is a systemically racist organization based on the accusations of a handful of people. As a person of color myself, a Latina woman, I felt called to state publicly that neither myself nor my child have experienced racism in the district. Why do I feel called to state? Because the Bridge the Divide organization has requested community members time and again to come to them with their stories of racism, inequity, or gaslighting in the district. Because the Bridge the Silence in the Burbs organization has created a letter writing campaign requesting people send form letters to board members demanding the hiring of a full-time equity director, new race-based hiring policies, and a top-to-bottom curriculum audit done through the lens of equity. These policies, along with the BLM at school movement, have already been implemented in districts like Buffalo, New York, Evanston, Illinois, and Seattle, Washington, where the goal is shifting from education to indoctrination and transitioning students to activists. Children from grades K through 12 in these districts are being taught all white people are oppressors and all minorities are oppressed. Data, facts, and the scientific method are examples of whiteness and are inherently racist. White people must recognize their white privilege and denounce it. I could go on. Classroom time that could be spent on reading or math is being spent on teaching critical race theory, which is the belief that America is a fundamentally racist country and that all of our institutions are designed to maintain white supremacy. I reject this. While friendly and positive terms like equity and restorative justice are being used in requests by local groups to the Cedarburg Board, critical race theory is the foundation of these requests. I believe that racism still exists and needs to be dealt with seriously, harshly, and consistently by the district. However, I reject the idea that racism is hard-baked into the district. I applaud the school board and the superintendent for their recent statements condemning all forms of racism and discrimination, and that the current district policy will continue to be followed to properly investigate any such claims. Let's keep the Cedarburg School District a premier district in the state where each child is given unlimited opportunity to succeed. Let's keep the Cedarburg School District focused on academic excellence and creating responsible, kind, and respectful citizens. I urge the board and superintendent to continue on this path and not adopt the radical changes local groups are requesting regarding staff hiring and curriculum. Thank you.
Next up is Kate Erickson.
Holy. Indigenous cause Kate Erickson, Njunjaba, Ngabinong, Nagwas Misitana, Giwinadong, Jangin Washak, Shanashamishiwatana, Chinese, Glenwood Drive, or West 60, North 982, Glenwood Drive. As a member of this community with a fourth grade child, I'm finding my patience for this board wearing thin. Why are the racial and DEI issues not being included on your agendas? As a professor and a member of the MATC DEI committee, I have no more patience. Blatantly ignoring state statutes legally requiring Wisconsin Native history being taught is not a good look. I said this last time and I will say it again. You are legally required to cover these things. Your graduates cannot answer the most basic questions. This is not an opinion, it's a fact. These basic questions were to have been covered over 3 different grade levels in their education. And semester after semester for over a decade, I have students telling me flat out that none of what I'm teaching is covered in K through 12. Act 31 is legally required by the state of Wisconsin in order to help reduce racism. It was created with the goal of reducing racism. It includes not only Native American history, but Black and Hispanic history. When you have a history professor who is Native and who must prove her race through federally required IDs, I'm number 12,480 of the United Nations, in case you're wondering. I am offering to help you fix this problem and put you into compliance. No one from the district reached out after last month's meeting, not to reach out on the issue I'm speaking of again today, nor apologizing for the interruption that I experienced while introducing myself last month. That's a shame, especially since I will be in a 3.5-hour meeting with other members of the 12 nations in the state, as well as the Wisconsin Department of Instruction officials who oversee Act 31 and its compliance issues tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Next is Karen Christensen.
Good evening. My name is Karen Hershenson. I live at 7026 Cedar Creek Road, Cedarburg. Tonight I begin my public comment with gratitude for the teachers and staff of Cedarburg School District. Your dedication to education is apparent from your hard work and compassion for Cedarburg students and their families. To thank the Cedarburg School Board members for your service to our community, especially Dr. Samuel Cox. Thank you for your dedication to education and your hard work. I need to ask you, however, where is your compassion? Where is your compassion for BIPOC students and their families? And I ask the same question to many of our community members in the audience who are laughing at people struggling with their pain. At the last school board meeting, I witnessed a mother speak raw with emotion because her voice has repeatedly been ignored by you. And it was again tonight. Why? And your response to her felt like a collective slap in the face to all mothers. Her cries for her children were not heard by you. They were met with one board member rotely reading a previously prepared statement that did not address her concerns with racism and racial equity in our schools. For years, Bridge the Divide, a Cedarburg-based grassroots effort whose mission in part is to provide a forum for discussion and action around racial repair, reconstruction, and eventually reconciliation, has repeatedly reached out to you and invited you to the table of community conversation. Why don't you take advantage of and accept their invitation? I have more to say, but I'm going to end with a quote from a Chinese philosopher, Lao Tzu. The living are soft and yielding, the dead are rigid and stiff. Living plants are flexible and tender, the dead are brittle and dry. With the season of spring upon us, we recognize a time for change and growth. Children, like living plants, are flexible and tender. School shapes their young minds, and racism is a mindset. As a board, I encourage you not to be rigid and stiff with your thinking. I encourage you to open your minds, and especially your hearts. Together as a community, we have been given the opportunity to embrace change and to learn and grow from it. A child's only job is to become who they are, and our job is to give them a helping hand, regardless of race. You're welcome.
Thank you. That is the end of the list of people, but I know there are other people in the audience. I saw some hands raised. If anyone else wants to speak, I won't call on you. Just step up and take turns if you could.
My name is Eliana Acosta, W52N244, Pierce Avenue, Cedarburg. By the way, I'm 16 years old. I am a daughter of Hispanic parents. I am light-skinned, and in this so-called bubble that we live in, I face racism. I face racism from my peers and adults. And I know for a fact that I'm not the only person in Cedarburg that goes through this. We say that Cedarburg is a bubble. We say this because we don't want the bad stuff that happens in this town to get out. We want to protect our town's reputation, but that affects the people of color. It affects our mental health and physical health. I have mental scars and physical scars. And I have to look at those scars every day for the rest of my life. Your words have actions, so use them wisely. You never know what the person next to you is going through. They could have the worst day of your life, and your words could affect their day. I remember I was having an awful day, and I wanted to go home and self-harm. Yeah, I self-harm. And this girl gave me a compliment, and it changed my whole mood. It made me feel good about myself. So think of your words like this. Your words are permanent. Just like when you write something down on paper, you can click backspace, you can try to erase it, but traces of it are left behind. You cannot get rid of your words and the effect that they have on people, for words can leave the deepest scars. My first account of racism that I can remember was when I was in first grade, and my first grade teacher told me that I would never amount to anything because I looked nothing like my classmates. Since then, I've been called racial slurs by peers and adults in this community. I've been told to don't lose your green card by peers, and one time a teacher heard me, looked me in the eye, and nodded her head. That made me feel like nothing. I've been told more times than I can count to go back to where I came from. Oh, and my favorite one, by the way, is that Hispanic people aren't fun, so I must be black. That made me feel great about my culture and my people. I do get compliments on my skin color and how beautiful it is, but some days I want to wipe it off. Some days I do wonder what it would look like to look like my peers, to have, as my sister says, peach-colored skin. Because I want to wake up and to be seen as human. I want to be seen as normal, not as an immigrant, because not all people of color are immigrants. I just want to be treated with the respect that I deserve, for I am not an alien, I am a human. I wear my flags with pride, and I am finally proud of my people. It is time to step out of this bubble that we live in and realize that our actions have consequences. We need to realize our mistakes and learn from them, for racism isn't born, it is taught, and this school district has failed to keep me safe, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Andrea Costa, W52N244, Pierce Avenue. I do not personally know Jessie Monchow, but I have heard her previously speak at school board meetings that they chose to move out of the district due to all the issues her family had faced, and my heart broke for her. You see, we've been there. My husband and I have sat at our table in tears, having the heartbreaking discussion if we should move. Are we doing the right thing staying here, subjecting our children to the pain they encounter at school year after year? And we express our experiences, and then members of this same community tell us, if you don't like it, then move. That reinforces our doubt to stay. And those sentiments are then solidified when your board stays silent. However, in the end, we decided no, we are not moving. We are not well off, but we sacrifice everything to live here for our children. Specifically for our children to attend these schools and have the best opportunities at education. And we have that right. And our children have the right to attend school without fear of being called racial slurs and to feel protected when teachers and staff hear it. Now I need you to actually listen to what I am about to say. It is difficult when you pick up your child from school and you are still on school grounds and you end up holding your 11-year-old in your car while they are crying and trying to claw the skin color off of their arms. And when there are parents in the pickup line telling my child that he doesn't belong here and that he's worthless. And that has actually just recently happened this week. We are done being silent. These are not one-off incidences. These have been issues for the past 8 years that we've been part of the school district. We are not asking for zero tolerance. We are not asking for punishment. We are asking for education. We are begging for education from the school board, education in the curriculum, and education for appropriate responses and actions by the teachers and staff when an incident happens. Equip them properly. When my high schooler had an issue in January, she's worked with the school resource officer to prepare a statement to read to her fellow student body, which was his idea. Week after week, she was told, we're working on it. She continued to follow up. They would tell her, we're still meeting on it, we're working on it. To finally be told it had to be attached to a club to read at announcements. Otherwise, all students may want to speak. What a ridiculous red tape answer when you have a student in pain, and many more right there with her. It took the school 2 months before they even reached out to a parent to discuss this matter. And prior to tonight, you may not have known my name, but I can tell you that the schools do. I have been on boards, I have co-chaired multiple fundraising events that have brought in tens of thousands of dollars into your schools and districts. You are quick to email me for donations, which I happily oblige every single time. But my phone and my email are silent when it comes to these issues in regards to our children.
Thank you.
As Pat said, I would be remiss as a board member if I didn't tell you, if there are these acts that are taking place, to please report them to our administration, because there's no way, per state law, federal law, and our district policy, there is no way for us to investigate them and fix problems that you're seeing going on if they're not. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Lee, this is Kristen.
Good.
Thanks for saying that. And can you repeat the speaker's name? I missed it.
Ms. Costa. Acosta, sorry.
Thank you.
I wrote it down wrong, I apologize.
So my name is Eli Acosta. I live on Pierce Avenue with these two beautiful women. Recently, our child's athletic team, there was a young boy that used the N-word. We reached out to the coaching staff to discuss. We made it very clear that we weren't going to release the child's name. We used that word. To us, it's very simply, we wanted an education, not punishment. We requested a parent meeting, and the coaches were happy to oblige. We had a very open, honest discussion with all the parents, and then we brought the kids in and had a discussion with them. The majority of the kids didn't even know what the true history of that word is. We as parents, coaches, we educated them that night. And do you know what that did? It brought the kids closer, it brought the parents closer. Education, not punishment, did that. Now, when our child had this issue in school, not only did our multiple calls go unanswered, we had to actually show up in the office, demand someone to speak with us, and we were still not heard. We asked that the boys of this particular incident not be punished. We wanted to sit down with them, their parents, have an open discussion about racist comments. They said what they said to our child, and truly come from a place of education. We were told that they can't do that. We personally knew one of the families, so we reached out separately. We had our own meeting. The child didn't know what half the stuff he was saying meant. It was an amazing 2-hour conversation, and the child at the end said to our kid, "I'm sorry, I will always stand up for you. I didn't know what I was saying and how it affected you." It took 2 hours, that was it. That's all. And the school's route to punishment and doing nothing but, it does nothing but create resentment and disdain for the children that these things happen to. We did recently had an interview with a college student about Black American studies, about history, and from past to present. At the end, her exact words was, "I can't believe how ignorant I was." This person grew up a half a mile from here in this community, and she hasn't been the first to say that. And she isn't ignorant, just uneducated. This is the product of your curriculum and environment. I know you're proud of your math and science scores, but what about the person as a whole? These kids are leaving the Cedarburg bubble unprepared for the real world, and I'm not sure why you would want to be proud of that. You should want to educate your students about everything happening in the world, from India to Africa to China to everywhere, so that they can look at the world and strive to do and be better. And I know the immediate response is that the curriculum can't be changed overnight. It takes time. Guess what? We've had years and even decades, and time is up. And we have multiple resources at your fingertips.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Our 45 minutes has expired. And it will expire. We've got one. Anyone else besides this gentleman want to speak? Yep, we've got 2 more. So we're gonna have to. I'll entertain a motion to.
I'll make a motion that we allow the last 3 people to have their 3 minutes. I'll second.
Second, Sandberg.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Do a roll call vote. Mr. Kennedy? Aye. Mr. Leach? Aye. Mr. Cox? Aye. Ms. Bamber?
Aye.
Mr. Reimer?
Aye.
That Creer is also an aye. Okay, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Jeff Gray. I live at 170 Sunset Lane, Cedarburg, Wisconsin. I'd like to say good evening to everyone here. I'd like to thank our superintendent. I'd like to thank our school board. I'd like to thank the staff, the educators, the total administration. I thought it'd be important to come and speak to you because for 25 years we've lived in Cedarburg. Some of you know me. And we had our last child graduate from high school this past summer. And I do want to thank you for working through the COVID as well as the board and administration has done, and educators, and that earlier gentleman that talked about cleaning the schools and what a great job the staff has done. Because this has been a difficult time. It's been difficult on everyone. But I really am thankful that everybody has put the students first and that the school board looks at the students first. We take care of the students, we take care of everybody else. I really do appreciate that. So the COVID's getting hopefully towards the end. I really appreciate what John brought up tonight with the successes that the athletics have been doing. I'm hoping that we can get to the arts and the musicals soon again. But back to the children, you know, we really enjoyed that we had the outdoor graduation. You have been trying to do everything you can to support the students, educate the students, because this is a time of learning. It is also a time of memory for them. There are a lot of districts that are shut up and they aren't letting the kids into school. So from letting them into school, they need the social interactions so they can learn and be friends with friends and just experience life. So I do want to thank you for everything you've done. This has been a great school district. It's the reason why we moved here. All 4 of our kids have come through the school district. I will tell you that their grandmother is 100% Hispanic. We have never ever had an issue with this district. So, and my wife has talked to all the kids, we never had an issue. Our view has always been, you look at a person's heart and you go from there. And I think also when we talk about a lot of the issues of learning about people, some of that needs to be the responsibility at home. Not all of this is put on the district. So thank you very much, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kayla Hawes, W67 North 716 Franklin Avenue, Cedarburg. Oh, what a heavy evening. I just wanted to talk about the mass, and I want to just provide you guys with some simple mass studies of following the science. That's basically all I was going to say, but the people up here, there's a lot of hurt. I sense that, and it breaks my heart being a coach, a parent, a 20-year member here in Cedarburg, but living in Ozaki County for 42 years. And I just want to encourage people that, you know, it's communication, love, it's acts of service that this community really provides. It's opportunities in the home. I'll give an example. We sent our daughter on a mission trip. She worked in the inner city in Cincinnati, and down there running just various opportunities, block parties, talking, taking care of children in the inner city. She developed her love and passion for working with children. We happen to be a biracial family. I've never considered that for my children because we don't see in color. And I'm sorry if I cry, but you know, I have a lot of passion for people who really are hurting. And I just want everybody to really focus on the good. We're living in hard times, and let's just, you know, work together and
focus on our glasses being half full and not half empty. And there's really a lot of beauty here, but you have to work for it, and you have to work with one another. And we've seen nothing but beautiful, supported things from our school district. I thank you guys for being open and just being an exemplary school in the state, and that's why it's #1. And it's why parents move here, is education and opportunity, and there is diversity. Thank you.
Good evening, Scott Brischel, 516 Highland Drive, Grafton. That is Cedarburg School District. I'm going to try to get through a couple of topics tonight. One is obviously racism in Cedarburg. And obviously there's been a lot of noise regarding racism recently. And I'm speaking for some people here, we're all here to condemn racism. Let me repeat that, we condemn it. It's evil and should never be tolerated. However, we're also here to condemn those who use racism as a political weapon. This narrative that Cedarburg is inflicted with systemic racism has very little to do with racism, but more to do with fanning the flames of racism, creating division and political activism. This is disgusting and should not be tolerated. I'm confident our district is following the policies and procedures set in place to respond to incidents of racism and any form of discrimination. Can there be improvements and tweaks? Sure. So tonight, we're asking the school board not to be bullied or shamed into doing anything that could negatively impact our students or our community. Do what's right. Do not bend to the forces that wish to divide us. We have your back. Second thing I want to get into is transparency. As you know, we have a school board election coming up, and everybody's talking about transparency, and they're going to be transparent, which is great. But it sounds like we've had some transparency issues back on October 28, 2020 during a school board meeting. I have a legal copy of a legal complaint from our district attorney for violation of Wisconsin statute 1996, which pertains to open meetings by a public official. After reading the complaint and meeting minutes, I believe, of course, innocent until proven guilty, that Mr. Cox knowingly violated the statute when he made him.
Mr. Isha, we need to keep it not, the board has no control over what the legal issue is, so I have to ask you not to discuss that. Please.
Okay. There were some issues on that meeting when it comes to this topic. I guess I should, since I can't go there, obviously as public servants, you know you cannot talk about topics that are not on the agenda, right? Because it basically stops officials from voting on things without the public knowing, providing input, providing feedback, that type of thing. So I've been a public official. I know that's rule 101. You just don't do that. So tonight we're asking each board member to be transparent, follow the rules, focus on what's the best interest for our students. If you cannot do that, please get off the board. You have every right to be a political activist, but it has no place in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No, it's the 3.
Yeah, I
Okay.
had my hand up. You guys didn't see the only brown person.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Oh, sorry about that. I guess I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we have a fourth class speaker.
Well, let's make sure we didn't miss anyone else first. Anyone else? Anyone? Okay, sorry we missed you. We got a motion?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, we'll take a roll call vote. And the motion is to allow this one last speaker, correct?
Correct.
All right, Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Mr. Leach?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Pedler?
Aye.
Mr. Reimer?
Aye.
Career is an aye as well. Motion passes. Thank you. Go ahead, sorry, yes.
My name is Erica Turner, W66 and 732 Madison Avenue. I want to start by saying I hope that you all appreciate what it takes for a Black person in a 96% white community to come up and speak out against things that are happening. And I just hope that you appreciate that. Cultivating a brave community involves infusing conversations about race, racism, and racial bias into the common language of the school. In our experience, most schools reserve conversations about race and racism for special, diversity-centered professional development days. By doing this, school leaders signal that these conversations are good to have, but only on specifically designated days. Moreover, by keeping these oftentimes uncomfortable conversations pocketed to specific designated school times, limits their capacity to become more comfortable with engaging in tough conversations about race. By breaking out of this Diversity Day culture, schools can begin to acknowledge that racial bias is a persistent problem that necessitates persistent discussion, planning, and attention. And that's from the unconscious bias in our schools. Bridge the Divide has always very respectfully, very openly asked to be a part of the conversation about race because it's a necessary conversation to have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that ends the public comment section. I'm sure everyone would love to stick around for the rest. You're welcome to do so.
56 minutes of public comment.
We've got the next is recommendations. Does that go to you, Todd, and then you pass it to Ted, or do I pass it to Ted?
Yes. It's Ted.
Tonight, in front of the board, we have 2 school safety drill write-ups as part of Act 133. The board is to review those within 30 days of the drill happening, and we are bringing those to you tonight for review. There is no action required. It's just the statute requires the board review them.
I would like to comment that I appreciated reading these, and looks like these drills were really worthwhile because you're uncovering new devices and things like that. So it's awesome that it got done and covered it.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a challenge because of the pandemic and mitigation, but we've been able to continue our work around school violence drills.
That was great.
Thanks, Ted. Ted also has the next item regarding the contractual agreement with the therapists.
Tonight we have in front of the board the non-music therapy contract. We'd like the board to approve that as our provider since the 05-06 school year. We do a great job, and we just want to continue that relationship.
I'll move to approve. I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will vote on the motion. Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Mr. Leach?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Pepper?
Aye.
Mr. Reimer?
Aye.
And Mr. Trier is also an aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Ted. The next item on the list of recommendations is the approval of the CHS ticket booth. Board members, there is a quick slideshow on this, and you have the information in your packet as well. John Adams here, and could also address any questions you may have. This particular topic was brought up to the B&G committee last week and presented to the B&G committee, and it was their recommendation that it be brought to the full board for approval. The ticket booth is something that the board has seen before. This is the image of the ticket booth. It's to recognize the Growth family for their tremendous generosity in funding the portion of the field turf, and also you can see Newman Chevrolet there, a check card making a donation for the actual ticket booth. We have worked with C.G. Schmidt and Growth Design Group to bring this forward and make certain that it meets the expectations of the district and also those who are making the donation. This is the back of the booth, and you're looking basically to the southeast. To the left, you can see the field house. And again, recognizing the Grove family for the contribution and Newman Chevrolet for the contribution for the actual ticket booth itself. And under that, the Newman Chevrolet name, you can see the donation board there that recognizes all the donors who contributed to the field trip project. What you'll see on this design, or this slide, is just the design details, and this is something that certainly the members of the B&G dug into, and C.D. Schmidt and Growth Design Group presented, and our team here in the district are comfortable with the design as it's being presented. The ticket booth itself is $81,475. It's being covered by donations from 10 different organizations. And then the site work is $67,276. And the site work is being done to address issues that were planned to be addressed, which are trip hazards, the deterioration of some of the asphalt in that area, drainage, and just improve pedestrian safety in that area. And we noted that there are four different departments that are contributing to that in the superintendent budget. B&G, if in fact there's money there, athletics, and the CHS budget. So it's a combination of those four budgets that are going to help cover the cost of the earth work. So this evening, we would ask that the board approve the construction of the ticket booth. The goal is to start the construction at the end of the school year and to have it ready to go for the first game of the season. And I'll ask John if he has anything to add. And of course, we have B&G members here present who maybe have any concern as well.
No, I think you covered it very well, Pat, and we're very grateful of generosity and
I've got a question for, maybe it's more for the B&G, because I wasn't at that meeting, not on the committee, but I think when we initially were talking about this, it's going to be fully covered by donations, and now it looks like there's some additional cost that comes out of the school budget. So I just want to make sure, like, how we covered that and everything's.
I express those same concerns. The site work, though, as far as replacing that asphalt, leveling it so that it's not as steep, were all things that previous to the stadium that John Coster had brought forward to us, saying that, I don't know if you were at one of those meetings, but he talked about that as well as some of the trip hazards on the grass when kids playing ball. And he said that in his plan, he always wanted to see us do something with that for the safety of all the people coming, pushing, wheelchairs, crutches, all that stuff, getting in and out. So I have the same concern, but it is a project that even if we wouldn't have built a new stadium, they would have been asking us to do. So for that reason, I didn't have as big a problem with it.
Yeah, thank you for the explanation. Yeah, that helps a lot because it's more of an associated cost than an extra cost.
Yeah, and with all the construction and driving and things they do through that area, they kind of clear up.
I would add to that we did have a discussion with B&G regarding that. And I frankly was very impressed that John brought this forward this quickly. I was convinced it would be a year or more from now before they raised money from private donors to fund this. I was very impressed, and I think I asked you, so you've got donors to fund the entire building. Yep, got it done. So that was impressive. And then the other ancillary site work around there is just to make it a safer, flatter area.
And if you look at that picture, look how flat that is compared to that hill and all that you go over the asphalt. Right, it's kind of tore up. It'll be much safer for everyone entering and getting in and out. I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
John, I just want to make sure that you contacted the Growth and Newman Chevrolet, the current family, and they're okay with this rendering. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, we seek their approval on these renderings.
Okay, I know I wasn't at the meeting, so I appreciate that.
All right, anything else from anyone?
That's all.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote on that. Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Mr. Leach?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Fadberg?
Aye.
Mr. Remmer?
Aye.
And Mr. Creer is an aye as well. Thank you. motion passes. Next item.
Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Thanks, John.
The next item is request for the board to approve the dedication plaque that we'll have here at the high school. In board docs, you actually have images of the plaque. I don't have them to present to you this evening on PowerPoint, but the B&G did get the opportunity to see the plaque, made some adjustments and tweaks to it, and we're looking to have the plaque here at the high school, but we're also investigating putting additional plaques at our elementary and middle school as well. So the plaque that you would be approving tonight would be for the high school, and if there is an opportunity to put a plaque at the middle school and elementary, it will either look similar to this one or a bit smaller, but it would encompass the spirit of what we're attempting to do. And that's to really memorialize board members that were involved with the building project and the administration.
And you missed the most important part. It's being donated and we're not paying for it.
That is the most important part. C.G. Schmidt is making a donation to cover the cost of the plaque.
I'll move to approve and thank C.G. Schmidt.
Second, Kennedy. All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion, roll call vote. Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Mr. Leach?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Fabry?
Aye.
Mr. Remmer?
Aye.
Creer is an aye as well. Motion passes. Next item.
Thank you. The last item for action tonight is the donations. We have a number of donations. The first is a donation of $500 from Casey's General Store. The donation will be used to support the CHS Student Red Gym program. The donation of $1,137 from JRT Roofing. This donation will be used to support the high school ticket booth. Next donation, the amount of $1,200 from the Gross Landscape Company. This donation will be used to support the CHS ticket booth. And the last donation from Growth Design Group in the amount of $13,225. This donation will be used to support the CHS ticket booth.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion on the donations? Hearing none, we will take a roll call vote. Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Mr. Leach?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Fabry?
Aye.
Mr. Reimer?
Aye.
Creer is also an aye. Motion passes. Thank you. That takes us to the committee reports, and the first one is the.
Just one other one.
Is there?
Yeah, it just says that the total for the year, school year, $229,639.85 donations.
That is fantastic. Thank you.
Absolutely amazing, the generosity of this
Great. All right, so now we'll move on to the committee reports. And the first one is the Personnel and Finance Committee, and the chairman, Mr. Goldbeck, is not here tonight. So I see my name on that, and my memory of that meeting is quite vague. I believe we went through the updated budget numbers, and the bottom line I got from it was that Ben is working hard to make sure that things are going to balance for us. Ben, do you have anything? I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I didn't realize that I was going to be doing the summary of this.
Ben didn't either.
I know.
No problem. It was just a forecast out for the next year's budget in the next couple of years, and just the uncertainties we currently face with the budget, with the state biennial budget still in the works, and then also federal funding as a result of the pandemic still kind of being worked out. So we forecast it out as much as we can, made some assumptions. We know we have some work ahead of us in terms of the budget, but we are going to be circling back to it each month for the rest of the fiscal year. So more to come on that.
Thanks. Curriculum committee meeting, Rick.
Yeah, we discussed the assessments coming up, the exams, and some messaging that went out by the administration on academic integrity. Just reminding everyone that if anyone is found not cheating and not doing things right, that there are some harsh punishments for that by policy, by school policy. We also looked at things they were doing for ways to safety, to ensure that everyone's getting an equal access as far as an exam, so that it's fair for all. We also discuss the program reviews of 6-8 math and the world science, world language. And cool thing was we got updated on the innovation, design, and engineering, the Rock and Bach, and some of the other things that we got from the Education Foundation and Velo Corporation, and how COVID kind of pushed it all off. But we're excited that that's going to be starting to introduce to our kids to get that opportunity in the grade school up. It's pretty exciting.
Absolutely. Next, we have the Building and Grounds Committee. Kevin, is there anything else to add? I think we covered most of this.
So we covered pretty much everything that I can think of with overall building project. Ross covered, budget update, Ross covered. There was an item, not really overly discussed, but a list that was generated of remaining items that were not funded for. If the board decides to act on any of those, that'll be something that comes to the full school board. We didn't really go through any detail or prioritize anything. That'll come to the, felt it's better to come to the full board for discussion on anything like that. That was it.
Okay. Then I will take a motion to adjourn into executive session where, for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved pursuant to section 19.851 sub G of the Wisconsin statutes, and also to consider social or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons under the jurisdiction of the board, which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories pursuant to section 19.851 sub F of the Wisconsin statutes. That is a pupil discrimination complaint, and also the CHS principal position.
Move to adjourn into executive session.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Kennedy.
Aye.
Mr. Leach.
Aye.
Mr. Cox.
Aye.
Ms. Pepper.
Aye.
Mr. Reimer.
Aye.
Mr. Career. Aye. So we are adjourned to executive session. I guess we'll be in the order behind us, right?
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.